Hey folks, this is a quick video on how to walk and run with the shift button in Unreal. And here we go. I am going to go to the content browser. If you can't see it, window load classic. Go in the third person blueprints folder and open up the blueprint third person character. Double click it. Here's the code if you want to pause the video real quick, but I'm actually going to delete the code. And here we go. The whole point of this video is to understand better the character movement component of the third-person character. Really quickly, I'm going to go to the viewport and just go down through here. This is the parent object that contains a lot of the main stuff for the whole object, like its materials, its skeletal mesh, its animation blueprint. And most of these point to the character mesh here, which is a skeletal mesh component. And remember, we're later going to assemble our own Unreal blueprints from a basic self object, an empty kind of parent, and add a bunch of little child things underneath it. And this is a good example of seeing one that's a little more complicated. So we've seen before the capsule component is added. It's really a collision cylinder that does the colliding when I jump and fall and run into walls, and it has a round bottom so I can go upstairs nicely. At least in the past. The blue arrow points forward all the time. It's nothing special. The mesh is all of the skeletal mesh, the skin, the animation blueprint that walk, run, jump, fall, idle animations, and when to play them. And the materials are what they look like. And you can change these out if you haven't already swapped the materials, or drag materials on if you don't want to choose them from this list. The camera boom is the distance or the springy connection between the character and the camera. The follow camera has a bunch of options here and stuff, and the character movement component is what we're doing now. Now, I don't know how all this works. There's a bunch of stuff in here I've never used before. I know that what some of it does, you can Google it. There's a bunch of interesting looking ones like gravity scale and acceleration and braking, how fast they slow down. His mass and all this stuff. But the only one we care about today is under character movement walking. If you scroll down, we can change the character's max walk speed. Okay? And notice the default is 500 centimeters per second. We're going to change that in the code. So we're going to get off the viewport and come back to the event graph. I don't see where my events are. There they are. And I'm going to scroll in. I usually like to add stuff to blueprints on the bottom. If there's existing stuff, don't delete any of this or the robot won't work anymore. And I'm going to right click and type keyboard shift. Okay, and I want the left shift button. And I know what you're thinking. Your generation has weak pinky fingers, and you're not meant to reach down there and play shift in these games. And I guess that's and control for crouch, which I guess is why so many people keep asking me for gamepads when we play Battlefield and Siege. But oh well, I'm old school. I actually put the wrong one here. I do not want debug key left shift. I'm gonna type keyboard shift again, and I want the bottom one, keyboard events. Not the word debug, but I want the left shift key on my keyboard. And what's it gonna do? Well, I could print hi mom when I press it and bye mom when I release it, but this one's pretty simple, so we're not going to bother with that. Now here's the weird thing. We need to get access to the character movement component. Now the easiest way to do that is to just drag it out and drop it, and all the variables that we could see, or most of them, and most of the actions we can do with the character movement component that's part of our robot character are accessible from the blueprint. If I come over here, a lot of them are involved in getters and setters. So if I type get space and I see the word character movement parentheses, that's something that was in the character movement component. Okay, and it's quite complicated. We don't want to really get things. We're going to set some things. I'm going to type set space maximum. I'm just going to type set walk speed and see what I can find. There we go. So if we want to set something to a value, we're going to set max walk speed, and we can see that there. 0 would mean we can't walk at all. And let's say shift is going to slow us down. The default value was 500 if you recall, and we're just going to hook that up and say, oh, pressed. Go 500. I am going to click on this. Remember, you can Control D, copy paste, right click, and I love alt dragging. I can't remember if that works in blueprints. No, it doesn't. You have to hit Control D or copy paste. And now let's hook that up again for when it's released. And we're going to go back to 500 when I release this. And that's it. I'm going to drag a box over it and hit the letter C. And I'm going to call this WalkRun. Okay. And that's it for this, I think. I'm going to compile, make sure I didn't mess anything up. Ooh, I did. Who or what is changing the max walk speed, we'll have to say which object is doing it. In other words, I have to make sure these are hooked up. And blue to blue is always how Unreal works. If you wanted to be fancier, you could, I'll stick around for the end and I'll show you this. But let's make sure this part works. Shift, let go, run, shift walks. Remember, how would I make it so shift runs and letting go of shift walks? Well, I do the opposite, right? I'd set the default walk speed to 250 over here, and I would switch these numbers, and then it would do the opposite, right? I could shift to run instead, but again, your weak pinkies aren't meant for that. They're meant for noses. So here we go. If you want to stick around for this end part, I'm quickly going to show you something that's kind of cool where you don't have to remember this number. Max walk speed, I'm gonna hover over this for a second and see that it says the variable max walk speed is a float of single precision. This part is optional if you want to be a good programmer or want to be smart. Please stick around for a second. I'll try to keep it under a minute. It's called a variable type of float single precision, the green, darker green. So I am going to make a new variable with the plus key over here by the follow camera and camera boom. And right away I'm going to name it. I'm going to call this old walk speed, or if I call it default walk speed, you'll think it's a magic word that belongs to Unreal. So I'm going to call this oldie walk speed. I like to put silly names on stuff, so I remember, oh, I made that. That wasn't part of Unreal. I did that. Look for that same shade of green, the float. That means a decimal value for those that care. And just make sure it's not a fancy float. There's other types of, no, just floats. Okay, and let's go give it a value. You have to save the blueprint and it defaults to 0. I'm going to put this at 500 again. And why did I do this? Well, I'm going to drag out old walk speed and put it here. And I'm going to get the old walk speed and plug it in when I'm done walking. Okay. Why did I do that? Well, here's the deal. When you're making games and stuff, you don't want to always have numbers typed everywhere. You want to use variables whenever it's helpful. Can you understand why it's good to have this variable of the old walk speed that basically goes and fetches? No, it doesn't. What does it do? No, we need to get it first. Sorry, that's dumb. Yeah, that was a silly thing to do. Right after I set the walk, before I set the walk speed, I need to go get it once. Yeah, let's do this. Drag off a character mode and type get max walk speed, wherever it is. We're going to fetch it or get it first. I'm going to make this a little bigger. Why did I get it? Well, because I'm not going to set the max walk speed to 250 yet. I'm going to drag off of this and type, no, I'm gonna drag out here and go set. Yeah, take it out. I'm gonna set the old walk speed. What the heck are you doing, Grammar? Why'd you do that, buddy? I'm not sure if that's the best way to organize this, but what the heck? That was an extra work for not much benefit. Well, why did you do that work? Okay, notice that old walk speed doesn't matter now. I'm gonna leave it at 0, and you'll see why. These guys not gonna freeze. What's gonna happen? I'm gonna push the left shift, and it's gonna set the old walk speed to whatever max walk speed is, and then it's going to set the max walk speed. Oh, that was dumb. I do need to put a number in here, don't I? I could make another variable called walk speed, but I'm just going to set this one to 200, 250. There we go. Okay, so what was the point? This slows him down, obviously, but pretend I'm making a game where I need to tweak the walk speed frequently. Yeah, this is longer than I thought. I'm going to come make a walk speed of, like, maybe the walk speed needs to be 300. He's a little slower. 1,000 because the game's faster or something like that. Well, let's actually do it. I'm going to put him at 50. Well, let's go 1,000. Okay, and it changes it to 10 meters per second instead of centimeters. Why did I do that? Well, now my code works. I'm running fast, but shift slows me right on down to 250. And what does letting go do? It should put me right back to 1,000. No, I don't like that. That game's ridiculous. Well, I'm going to come in here and go back to the character movement script, and I'm going to change that off of 1,000. I'm going to go 750. That's a much better walk speed. I don't like 500, but I like 750 or 7.5 meters per second. Let's go hit, let's compile it. What was the whole point of adding that extra code there? Well, now, no matter what my max walk speed is, it always returns to that same speed because I use the variable. Okay, I'm going to pause right here at the end just so you can see it. This isn't going to be the screenshot that's put out there for other people because this is the harder version. The easy version just uses real numbers like this, right? We just need to go cha, cha, cha. That's much easier, but I'm going to undo twice. I prefer this one. If you are interested in programming at all or have mind for games, that one's a little cooler. So we'll see you in the next video, and hopefully this will make more sense why we did this. Thanks for watching.